Hi, Salam Alaikum. Sulaiman Rahim here, Master of the Covenant, Breaker of the Seven Seals. Welcome. Sisters and brothers, the time is approaching rapidly. Rapidly. At some point in time, you will find you're in a new reality. A new reality. This reality will have been gone. And you will be in a new reality. Some of you will not like that new reality because it will be a reality of destruction for you. But you will find yourself in a new reality. Right now, you're in the reality of Satan and you're under protection of Satan. And you do all the things that you think Satan says you can do, all the rights he claims he gives you. But then Satan's going to be gone in a moment and you will not be under his protection anymore. And now you'll be under the judgment of the true God, which is consequence. So you will face consequence. You will come face to face with consequence. You were dealing with consequence under Satan, but Satan was able to disguise it, cover up your consequence. If you give you drugs and things, right? You get sick, get drug. Oh, here's a drug. He was able to cover up the consequence of your actions. The medical team have all kinds of ways. You get cancer, all these different things. See, almost all those things, right, was a consequence of your actions. As I've been trying to tell you, brothers and sisters, right? You convert energy from one form to another from the time that you conceived up to the time you are right now. And the state you're in right now is a state that you formed for yourself. Because you, in process of life, you was converting energy from one form to another because you got a certain amount of energy every day. Everyone gets the same amount, and you was converting it from one form to another. That means that's how you was going through life. You were saying, okay, I'm going to use my energy to do this today. I'm going to use my energy to do that today, right? There was a consequence of those actions. I'm going to use my energy to study today. So therefore, now eventually you have some education, some knowledge that other people didn't have because they didn't invest their energy into that. So you are what you have. You are the result of the way you invested your energy. You may not accept that. You don't have to accept it because it's a fact. You don't have to believe in gravity, but you fall off a building and gravity's going to get your ass and you don't have to believe it, but you're going to feel the results of it. This is an actual fact. So the point is that you don't understand that. That's one of the tricks they're using to take you down. So they make you think there's an unlimited amount of energy, and if you just do what master tells you, you have all this energy, and this energy they tell you is money. So you have all the money you want. The more you listen to master, the more money you want, because they deceive you with money, because money is not a measure of energy, but they tell you it is. So you look at the billionaire like he's got more than you have. He does not have more than you have. He has no more than you have. But you, it's $1 billion. I knew I'm over here homeless, and he got $1 billion, right? But you may be 29 years old homeless. He made 79 years old a billionaire, right? And you got your future in front of you. See? Like I said, you may be 29 homeless, right? With all kinds of possibilities. He's 79 with $1 billion. See? Sick and everything else that goes with that. And I guarantee you, if he could switch places with you, he would. In a heartbeat. He would give that $1 billion up for your age, your youth, in a heartbeat. But you don't understand that. That's why we got to get you to think, start thinking mathematically under the pressure system. Because there's two ways of thinking. There's the analytical way and there's the spatial way. The analytical way is the mathematics that define it is force. The spatial way, the mathematics that define it is pressure. Force is pressure. It's pressure spread out. I'm not going to that kind of detail. I mean, pressure is force, just force spread out. That's what pressure is. But one defines spatial because it's comprehensive. See, because pressure encompasses everything. It's comprehensive. The force is very linear. Linear thinking is powerful, but it's linear. And that's where analytical people think. They think in terms of force. That's the mathematics that defines their way of thinking. And pressure is the mathematics that defines the way of spatial thinking. And you need to start to understand how pressure works. So, let's say this. They have you thinking analytically, so you won't, and that's a handicap for you because it's like making you a southpaw, left-handed, when you really right-handed, but you force you to use your left hand in a competition against right-handed people. I mean, against left-handed people that's naturally left-handed, so you're going to be a loser because they're naturally left-handed, but you not naturally left-handed, but you're forced to compete with them on with your left hand, and so they have you think analytically, which is a handicap for you. And most of you still doing that. You have Farrakhan telling you you need to think analytically, which is a handicap for you because your natural strength is thinking spatially. So, brothers and sisters, we're going to talk about the demon trap. The demon trap. Now, as I was saying, many of you are not going to understand this, not listening to this, because they got you thinking analytically, and analytical thinking, right, oftentimes is governed by the heart zone thinking, emotional thinking. So when the heart is in control, it blocks all impulse to the mind because because it wants emotional control because there's no emotions in the mind. The emotions in the heart. Once you start thinking spatially, you start thinking in the mind zone, all the emotion disappear. You see, emotion doesn't matter there because you're thinking mathematically. There's a difference in our people. Some that those that think mathematically, which are very few, and those think analytically. I mean, yes, analytically, right? That's on emotional level. There's a big difference in most of our people on emotional level. That's how they get you. See? With music, entertainment, see? And so they block any information going to the brain, and they keep you on the emotional level because they can control you on the emotional level. They control your emotions. And as I was saying earlier, the devil got many tricks on this guy. The consequence of your action. He's a, he's become a specialist, a scientist at it. That's what all the doctors and medicines and psychiatrists, all those things they're for, right? To disguise the consequence of your actions. So you suffered all the consequence of your actions, right? You got high blood pressure. They give medication for it. Oh, I'm depressed. Uh, 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 medication for that. See, you reason why you are those things because it's self-imposed energy deprivation. It's a consequence of your action. That's why you suffer from those things. Hypertension, I got that. You suffer diabetes, I got medication for that because you cause those things to happen because the way you process your energy. Your Another simple way is just your lifestyle. But that's your lifestyle. You can blame it to the master to some extent because he controlled our lifestyle for 400 and some years. But now says Elijah Muhammad came on the scene, he gave you information to start controlling your own lifestyle if you listen. But you did not listen, so you were still under master's control. And so master kept see, you was under master control because you gave master control. Only control master has over you is your ignorance because he makes you think that he has control, so you give him control. He has no control over you anymore. Since 2019, that was the last year he had any control over you. He has no control over you whatsoever. He actually had no control over you. Well, if you talk, well, your energy deprivation problem stopped in 1948. That was in your energy deprivation. So now you're in a period of self-imposed energy deprivation, right? See, so he had minimal control over you. Since then, he would have had no control of you whatsoever. Let me put it another way, because I think I'm making that too confusing. Because you told that the Abrahamic covenant ends in 2019, which it does. And all the things they would do to you, we had to submit. See? But in 1948, that was the end of your energy deprivation. So you would say, well, that would end their control over you. No, that was the end of their personal control of you. That was not the end of the nation, the national control over you. Let me put that away, because they still control your nation. Because we only had enough energy in 1948 to maintain ourselves. So we had enough energy to break their control of us on that level. But still, we didn't have enough energy to maintain our nation. That would not happen until now. So let me reiterate. In 1948, that was the end of your energy deprivation. 50 years of energy deprivation came to end in 1948. That's a special year. That's the year of the Christ and Antichrist that came to an end. So now, but it was 2019 when the end of your nation control ended. So now we have enough energy to maintain a nation. That's why a nation is about to be born. We have enough energy to maintain our nation now. But we didn't have that in 1948. We only had enough energy in 1948 to maintain ourselves. We finally broke that cycle in 1948, the end of energy deprivation. So we were in a period from 1948 until now of self-imposed energy deprivation, because your energy deprivation was because of your ignorance, because of your misuse of your energy. You had enough energy to maintain yourself, but you wasn't using it for that. Let me put that away. You had enough energy to maintain yourself, but you wasn't using it for that. So now you had self-imposed energy deprivation. You would suffer from all these different things. Because if you were listening to Elijah Muhammad, right, then you would not have suffered all the things that you are suffering, because he told you what you need to do, because he set the example of what we're supposed to do, because we're still in the womb and we're supposed to focus all our energy on development. Because when you're in the womb, you have to focus all your energy. That's the purpose of the womb. That's why it puts you there. It blocks away. It blocks out all external forces, all external disturbances, everything else. So you can totally focus on development, so you can come out the womb 100% healthy. All your fingers, all your toes, everything is 100%. Then from then on, exit out of the womb, everything you do has a consequence. But since you don't know that, right, then the devil can deceive you and make you think he still has control over you and still tell you to do things. Like it said, what this says, it says at the end, Satan will say, I had no control over you. I had none whatsoever. He said, I called and you came. He has no control over you. His control is to make you think he has control over you, so you listen to him through fear. Okay? Because fear is from the heart. That's why they keep you on the heart level, because they can put fear in you. As long as they keep you on the heart zone, they can put fear in you, because once you move out of the heart zone, they can't put fear in you anymore, and that's their end. They can only control you through fear. They only control you through fear. That was their main control while we was in chain slavery. But they did have control of us, but they had even more control, because it says in the scripture that we endured all that suffering because of fear of death. It says it. We endured all that suffering for fear of death. Because if they hadn't put fear in us, they couldn't have oppressed us to the degree they did. We was told to submit to them, and we did. But we wasn't told to kiss their ass. And if they would be on with their commission, then we had the right to fight back. We had the right to fight back against oppression. We were only supposed to submit to them, their servants. But if they abuse us, we had the right to fight back. That was not against our submission. We still would have been servants. We just would have retaliated and let them know we're not going to tolerate your oppression of us. We're not going to tolerate your raping of our women. We stay here and we'll submit and we'll do what you tell us to, but we're not going to tolerate what you're doing to us. Just like when they went to India, they took and oppressed those people, but they had limits because they knew the Indian people would not go let them go but so far. So they not go as far with them as they went with us, because they could not put the fear in them that they put in us. The Indian, they did not take the Indian through the process, 64-year process they took us through. They had total fear in us, and that fear allowed them to do all of the rape and all the things they were doing that was beyond their commission because of fear. It says they endured that suffering because of fear, because they keep you on the heart zone level. And so once they keep an emotional level and keep fearing you, that means they can go way beyond their commission. And what they was doing, oppression, and they was raping our women, and we didn't do anything. We didn't fight back or anything because of fear. If we had fought back, they would not have been doing that. We still would have served them. We stayed here as servants to them as servants, but they wouldn't have done all the things they did. They did it because we was too fearful to stop them. They kept us on an emotional level. Hope you understand that, bro. And they still use fear today. They keep it on an emotional level. Right? So they still use fear. It's harder today than it used to be before because they got to put more and more energy into keeping you. And so a lot of our people, they coming out of this fear to some degree, and they fighting back. But they're fighting back like an elephant, a blind elephant, and we don't. And that's destructive because it destroys them. That's the whole story about Samson. See, he fought back, but he destroyed himself in the process. He's very strong, very powerful, but he just fought back, but he destroyed himself in the process. And you don't want to be like that, but a lot of people in that process, because a lot of people, the fear is eroding because Master can't devote as much energy because he has to put energy into keeping that fear going. And part of the energy is the police force. And it costs them a lot of money to maintain that, but America is broke. And they got all kinds of pressure on them. And like I told you, the police force, the purpose of it is the structure, because you have law. Law gives the structure of any civilization, any country, any kind of organization. It's the law that determines that. It defines it. And so you need law enforcement to make sure everybody stay within the realm, right, of that law, that structure. That's what we call law enforcement. Law defines the system, and law enforcement makes sure that that's maintained, that you follow, that you stay within the realm of the framework of that law. And so what's on attack now? Law enforcement. That's a sign right there that America's about to come down. Because when you pull out the pillars, the four law enforcement is the pillars of the civilization. Like I said, it's the what enforces it. And once you destroy that, the whole thing comes down because there's no one to keep to maintain that structure, because that structure is what defines that system, that organization. Hope you understand. I hope I didn't make that too complicated. You see. The idea is that they have law enforcement, and law enforcement it's harder and harder for law enforcement to instill that fear in you because they got to pay them to do that. And they don't have the energy. America's run out of energy because they the pressure, they need to use a lot of energy to keep maintaining the structure they have, and this structure is not strong enough to maintain to withstand the pressures that America is under. Let me say it again: America's under intense pressure, so they have to use more and more energy to take and buttress or take and support, the reinforce, the structure, because the structure is crumbling under the pressure. That means they got to use more and more energy, right, to support their organization, support this democracy, to support all this thing, because it's crumbling. You see, it's crumbling before your eyes. So they got me divert more and more of the energy into supporting that. That means, right, they have less and less energy, right, for other things. And it costs more and more and more, right? Because law enforcement is the pillars that holds this thing together, maintains the structure, and they run out of energy, then starts crumbling. And then the thing is that they don't have enough energy as they used to take and I mean they have the energy, but they have to divert it into all kinds. Let me say it this way: they have to divert the energy that they have into maintaining the structure under intense pressure because it's crumbling. They got to keep on, and it's like a house is falling. So now you say, "Hey man, we need more support. We have to put braces and things like that to keep it from falling apart." That means they got to focus energy on that. So therefore, they have less energy to force on that fear factor. And so a lot of our people are coming out of it slowly. And what are they attacking? They're attacking the support that we have law enforcement. So law enforcement under severe under stream attack now. It's going to get worse because America's crumbling. They cannot withstand the pressure. America, the Europeans would not. They was create in haste, as the Quran tells you. That means they would create in a state of tension. They cannot withstand pressure. They cannot. So now the universe is contracting. More and more pressures on them every day, and they cannot withstand it. And so eventually they're going to go to war with each other. That's another mathematical concern I'm not going to talk about. Because more pressures, more collisions there are. And the weakest ones collide more. And that's why Europeans are getting ready to collide with each other. Because they're the weakest of all the nations. And then they collide with each other. And then what's the next nation after them? China. Then they collide with China. What's the nation after that? India. Then they collide with them. And after that, Africa, right? You see what I'm saying? It's a mathematical. It's mathematics behind all of that. I'm not going to go into it here. But it says it was fear that allowed them to do all the things they did to us. That went way beyond their commission. Because Adam had a commission. He could take a rule. He gave commission a rule. And to make commission shed blood. Right? So we were supposed to submit. But by submitting, they was not supposed to oppress us beyond our submission to servitude. But they went beyond that. And the only way they could do that is by putting fear in us to do anything about it. That's how they got away with it. And so some of us still suffer from that fear. And that fear makes you think they have control over you. And so therefore you're trying to do, you're not a demon, but you're acting like one in many ways. And so therefore you're trying to please them because you're afraid. And so you live in the lifestyle they're giving you. And now you suffer the consequences of it. And you blame it on them, but it's really you, your fear is what's doing, is allowing that to happen. Because as it says, they would say, we had no control over you, read the Quran, but we called and you came. So now you eating pork, you do all these different things because you think you're pleasing master because you're afraid of them and you suffer the consequence of it. And so he's telling you, oh no, don't worry about the consequence. I got you. Here's some pills. Here's some pressure here's some pressure medication, depression, right? Here's some anxiety medication. Here's some hypertension medication. Okay, your kidney's going, okay, I got some dialysis for you. I got something for you. I got some Papa's brand new bags. I got some, my bag got some for all. So you don't have to worry about consequence. You see? So therefore you go further until you go to your structure. Because if you're not worrying about consequence and when consequence hits you, see, consequence is like, for us, it's like a wake-up call. Hey, why they call it your conscience. Your conscience bothers me. Conscience is just an aspect of consequence. Because when you see consequence, hey, that's the wrong way. You do something, and the consequence, that's the wrong way. Because you sort of, so that tells you, hey, don't go down that path because that's the result. So you go down another path. And you might try several paths until you find one that's you're having issues. So that's your conscious, but it's really an aspect of consequence. It's guiding you to the right way, right? Because telling you if you go this way, you're gonna suffer this. Oh man, them chillings, man, I got sick as hell. Oh, I ain't eating that stuff no more. You see what I'm saying? So consequence is time. Consequence is just your conscious is an aspect of consequence. See? And we have a very strong conscious because we're very aware of consequence. The analytical mind is not so much aware of consequence. That's why the Bible says there's no fear of God before their eyes. Talk about them. When it says no fear of God, that means they have no fear of consequence. Because they have no fear of it, that don't mean it doesn't exist. They just like they didn't know about gravity, gravity knew about them. You understand? See? So consequence, you cannot escape consequence. They say, well, but about mercy, those things are still aspects of consequence. I'm going to much deeper into this than I expected to. So I'm going to say a couple of things here. When they talk about mercy, they're not talking about this wipe away everything. There's an aspect of that too. But what they mean is that, for instance, you're doing things that's cultivating a ulcer, and you don't know that ulcers exist, but you're doing something that's cultivating it. So it hasn't got to a point that's deadly, a point that you even notice it yet. But it's getting worse and worse and worse. And at some point, you're going to notice it. At some point, become terminal, right? But you stop doing the behavior that's causing that, because that, see, you cultivating it. That means you conduct yourself in a way, right, that's causing that, because you're misusing your energy. And so now you have the consequences. You're developing this ulcer. You see, that's going to turn into a cancer that's going to kill you eventually. It depends on your behavior. If you really, it could be quick or slow or whatever. But then you stop that behavior, and then it also gradually goes away. You never even know it was there. See, that's mercy. Another way, a form of mercy is that you go and you go and rip somebody off. And then you get in your car and you have an accident. Ain't that consequence? No mercy in that. You see? It was immediate. You paid. Or you go and rip somebody off, right? And then what happens is that now you meet somebody that's going to cause you a lot of trouble later on in life. And you're developing that relationship because you keep ripping off people. That relationship develops, gets stronger and stronger and stronger. But you don't realize how it's going to end up. But everything you've been ripping people off and everything else, see, that person's going to end up getting something to that effect. So there was a mercy in it, the fact that there's a time difference, a time between the time that you was doing what you was doing, and when you start seeing the consequence of what you was doing. And so if you had to change your behavior anywhere during that line, that you would never have seen that consequence that you was moving towards. That's what mercy is. And there's another form of mercy, is that we get energy. I never talked about this before. Like I said, a lot of things I don't talk about, brothers and sisters. But we get a burst of energy every 50 years, right? Okay. So right now, we do, well, every 50 years. So the last one was in the 60s. We're about to have one right now. And it's about to be magnified many times when Master Prophet Muhammad pulls the plug on false Israel. And you're going to get a burst of energy like you couldn't believe. The Quran talks about it, and the Bible talks about it too, but you don't understand what they're saying, why they're saying it. So, say for instance, you're suffering energy deprivation, self-imposed right now. Say you're suffering self-imposed energy deprivation right now. So in other words, you have 1,000 units of energy per day. Instead of using all the energy for self-development, that's what you're supposed to be doing now because we're still in the womb, using 80% of it for that and 20% for other stuff. So now you're suffering 10%, well, I say 80% and 20%. Now you're suffering 20% deformation because you're not applying all it, because at this point in time, we supply all the energy we have. We just have enough to maintain ourselves. But you're not using all of it to maintain yourself. You're only using 80% to maintain yourself. That means 20% you're neglecting yourself. So that neglect is going to show up in your health and everything else. Okay? So you, like I said, you're getting 1,000 units per day. Okay? Then comes the next energy cycle, where the energy is boosted from 1,000 units per day to 2,000 units per day. Now you're getting 2,000 units per day, but you need only 1,000 to maintain yourself. So you can still be misusing your energy, but you won't suffer the consequence of the health issue because you got more than enough to take care of you. Because you, like I said, if you're using 80% to take care of yourself, Then you got 800 you got 1,600 units of energy, and that's much more than you need to take care of yourself. So you're very healthy and everything else. You're still misusing your energy, but still, like I said, if you go to 2,000 per day, but you're using 80% to take care of yourself, and all you need is 1,000 units per day to take care of yourself, that means now you got 1,600 units to maintain yourself that you use to maintain yourself. So you extra healthy. You take care of yourself, plus you got extra energy, man. You do extra stuff. See? That's the kind of mercy that the Quran and the Bible talks about for us, because we're original people, right? And pressure, we love pressure. Pressure turns us from coal into diamonds. That kind of mercy, I never talked about that kind of mercy before. That's the other mercy, because it washes away your sins. That's why it says Suleiman would wash away all your sins and everything. That's what that means. Because he's gonna give you more than enough. So even if you abuse the energy, you still have enough to be healthy and everything else. You can go on and rest your life abusing it, right? But you suffer the consequence of that. But it won't be health wise. In other words, you be building shit farms when you could be building gold mines. Gold mines. You understand what I'm saying? That type of mercy I never talked about before. But that's the great mercy. That's the mercy that we're going to receive, see, as we move into the hereafter. That's how it said all your sins will be washed away. Because every time we get a burst of energy, it's like water coming and washing away all the dirt. Because remember, the whole problem is energy. So now we have abundance of energy. So now we have more than enough energy to take care of ourselves, so we're healthy and everything else, even though we're still being stupid and misusing it. But we got so much that you can misuse it and still be healthy and everything else. That type of mercy. That's only reserved for us. That's not reserved for them, because that energy wave, where it comes to be healing for us, it says, remember in Malachi, it says at that time, there'll be the Son of Righteousness will arise with healing in his wings. But for them, that energy is increased pressure, which crushes them. The energy that takes and causes us to convert into from coal to a diamond is the same thing that reduces them from coal to dust, because they just cannot withstand the pressure. Hope you understand that, brothers and sisters. So I laid out a lot of stuff here, and I never really got to my main topic. So let's get into our main topic right now. The demon trap. See, it's right here. Son of perdition. The demon trap. It's diabolical. I talked about it earlier, but it's diabolical. The demon trap. You need to understand the abomination of desolation. I told you I'm going to continue talking about it from many angles. Because Israel, they're the cornerstone of this reality. Once Master Muhammad pulls the plug, if the cornerstone goes, the whole building collapses. What's this building? This building is capitalism, democracy, all that stuff. It collapses overnight. America will be in total turmoil because all that will collapse overnight. They will go into military. They will go into what they call martial law, which is control of the military. Democracy is going to be ended. When he pulls the plug, democracy will end in this country. They will go under military, go under martial law, under military control. It's many, especially because they're going to be at war with every place. They will have to enforce martial because people will be out of control. They'll be murdering people. They'll be murdering us. The whole country will be out of control. Then jobs will go crazy. They will have to institute martial. That means that's going away. Food distribution, that's going away. It's going to break down. You see? Capitalism is going to break all the banks and everything. See, all that stuff is going to disappear overnight, just like an instant. But see, that's your problem, brothers and sisters. That's the problem for you. Right now, you have a decision to make. And right now, those things, because Israel, they got this system set up. You trapped in it. Because if you listen to, especially those who listen to Farrakhan, because the longer you listen to him, the worse the situation occurs for you. Because what has happened with Louis Farrakhan? See, he came and he lied to you, he deceived you, and told you you had no other choice. And most of you believed it. It says only 44,000, right, will be wise enough not to be deceived by that, because that fact right there. I mean, that's not a fact, but that information right there is very powerful and determines how you're going to live your life. If you think that there's no option and you have America's only option, you're not going anywhere, then you got basically two options: commit suicide, say the hell with this, or try to be the best you can in it. And then you say, well, yeah, what's wrong with that? See, because if why would you invest in something that you know is going to be destroyed? Elijah Muhammad made it very clear to you. That's why if you had thought this thing through and got off the heart zone into the mind zone, you would not have been deceived by him. Because how in hell could he get to investing in something that America, Elijah Muhammad wrote a whole book about, the fall of America, a whole book about it. But he's telling you to invest in it. He's giving you the book because he knows you're not going to read it. He's giving you Elijah Muhammad's music, but he's not giving you his lyrics. So he's telling you, yeah, well, you just invest in America. We're going to have 6 states. We're going to do this stuff. And Elijah Muhammad said, this whole thing is going to be destroyed. It's going to burn down with fire. It says in Malachi, the earth will burn as an oven. Elijah Muhammad says, place is totally going to be destroyed. He says that all these devils are going to be destroyed. It's right there in the lessons. But you wasn't paying attention to that. And he's telling you invest in something. And if you say, why would I invest in that? How does that make any sense? Because if this is the only game in town, that means you only got one choice. And even if you read that, if you read those things, but you believe that you have no choice, then you say, well, I mean, you got 2 choices there. You invested, you got 3 choices actually. You could just kill yourself and say, man, this is hopeless. Because you have no vision anymore. He took your vision away. A people without a vision perish. So you can say hopeless and maybe commit suicide. Or you can go and say, man, I might as well do the best I can. I ain't got no place else to go. Right? So you believe in that American dream, so you go for it. Right? So you put that stuff out your mind. If it was ever in your mind that America's gonna be destroyed, because you're gonna make America better again, or you listen to Farrakhan, he's gonna make America repent. See, he got something in his bag for everybody. They said, why in the world? Why would I invest in America if America be destroyed? Oh, he got something for that. Oh, I'm gonna make them repent. So they're not gonna be destroyed. He's got something for all you got answer for all your everything you say. America's gonna be repent, but he's still feet in the grave. They tell you he's dead or damn near. They said this so-called Savior's Day in a few weeks is his last public appearance ever. But America has not repented. But he's telling you, oh, see, if you read it, man, why would I invest in America? Oh, I'm going to make America repent. You don't have to worry about America's destruction. Or you can say, I'm not going to invest in none of this, man. Hell with this, right? And then you take that attitude, and then you end up in prison somewhere. Any way you look at it, it's doomsday for you because you going down a path that leads to destruction is dead end because you think you have no choice. That's the genius of Farrakhan's whole demon trap, to make you think you have no choice. So your destiny is wrapped up in America. Whatever America's destiny is, that's your destiny. And that's what he's been doing. See? And that's why it says the messenger of the covenant had to come, because he's telling you about the other choice. That's why I call him the messenger of the covenant, because the covenant is your other choice. That's why they call Suleiman the messenger of the covenant, because he's telling you that covenant tells you have another choice. It's right there in it. But Farrakhan just tells you about the first part. He doesn't tell you about the second part. He tells you about the going into captivity, but he tell you about the reward, right, of returning back to our land, which they clearly define as Arabia. Do you understand, brothers and sisters? That's what this is all about. The demon trap. And so he has you all caught up in that. And the longer you with him, the worse it gets because you believe that you have no other choice than this. And so now you digging your roots are going deeper and deeper into it. The longer you with him, the worse it gets. So you had a choice. So the point is, you have no choice. At least you think you don't have any choice, and then you find out you have a choice. See, because that's what's going on with the abomination of desolation. Like I said, this whole reality is going to end overnight. So where you have a choice right now that you don't know that you have a choice now, but they've eventually you have no choice. So when Suleiman comes along, right? Those of you who are of the seed of Abraham, many of you recognize him. It tells you, Mark, you recognize him and you want to go along with him. But your feet are so rooted in demon legion. Farrakhan had control. He said, no, he put this kibosh on it because he stopped it because you ran to Suleiman. You said you saw him from afar and you ran to him because you was one. So in other words, you recognize him because you are the true seed of Abraham. But the demons had control over your behavior because they stopped you. Don't stop. How did they do that? Because they tell you have no choice. So even though you weren't smitten, you couldn't. Because your roots were so firmly planted, rooted in this reality. Now you got a mortgage, you got all these loans, all this stuff. Right? That's got you locked in into their reality. You're firmly rooted in their reality. Firmly rooted in their reality. And so now you can't break it. But now, at that point, when Suleiman shows up, you have a choice. Now you realize you have a choice. To cut loose, which is very difficult, the longer you was with Farrakhan, the worse it got because your roots got so deep. You had a choice to cut loose that mortgage. Oh man, I ruined my credit, man. I'm going to lose all the thing I have. I've invested 20 years into this, man. I've done this. I've worked so hard, right? Anybody can relate to that. You just can't do it. When you had the choice to do it, you didn't do it. And then comes Master Muhammad and makes that choice for you. And that's the point. He comes and makes that choice for you. But see, when he makes a choice for you, you got to suffer. Suffer as a result of that. You got to suffer immensely. Because you could not break those ties. You could not break that yoke around your neck. You could not break those chains around your feet that Master had on you that you didn't even realize he had on you. Because once you got that mortgage, that's a yoke around your neck. Because how do you maintain that mortgage? You got to work for this. Now you got to work 24/7 for Master, right? So you can pay off that mortgage. And all the other things that come with that. So he's got you under control, right? He still got you. He still got you under control. But you think you don't see that physical change, so you think, hey, I got it. No, he got you. And you had a choice to do that. When you saw Suleiman come along, you had a chance to do that. You see, before the abomination of desolation. So you had that period. They call that in the Bible the valley of decision. See, you're in the valley of decision now. But you see the truck coming, but you can't move because you're so firmly rooted in the Master's reality. So you stand in the middle of the road, this big Mack truck, right? Master Muhammad, the 104th 1,000 original nation. You see it coming at you straight, and you can't get out the way and you can't get on board because your feet are so firmly rooted in the pavement that you can't move. That's what Farrakhan did for you. So you know how that's going to end up. You see? That's what he's done for you. So now you can see Suleiman, but you can't do anything. See? And you say, what? You tell him, oh, truck, hold up, take your time, or slow down, truck, whatever. So you do all these different things. So you tell Suleiman, slow down, I can't keep up with you. He's not going to slow down. He's not going to slow down. I'm not going into all the details about that. He's not going to slow down. So you can't keep up. So you're angry. You can't keep up because you bow down in master's reality. You're bogged down in it. You're trapped in it. That's what Farrakhan did to you. So now you can see the truth, but you can't respond to the truth. Because you are the seed of Abraham, but you can't respond to the truth, even though you see it. You see it, but you can't respond to it. Because you've got, and the longer you with Farrakhan, the deeper those roots became. You just can't extricate yourself from it. Then comes Master Fra Muhammad, and he snatches out he takes and destroys the cornerstone, and all of a sudden, what you could not separate yourself from is gone. That mortgage, all that stuff is gone overnight. That mortgage you had, your credit, capitalism, all this stuff is gone overnight that you could not separate yourself from. He made the decision for you. Now, since he made the decision, you got to suffer. Since he made the decision for you, you got to suffer. Because now what you could not separate yourself from is gone. And what are you faced with now? Tribulation, incubator. Because you could not make that decision yourself. And if you think about it, you say, if you think about it and you're a true believer and you believe in that, what Elijah Muhammad said, just those books, you would make that decision because you realize, especially if you're familiar with the angel, you say, I see time is over. I see they're about to go to war. I see all this. Then you understand that tribulation is coming, and you should understand that means all that stuff that you're so worried about is going to be gone in an instant. So why would you be wise enough to make the decision to cut loose right now while it will benefit you? Because you cut loose right now and finish your development if you 98%, because many of you are 98%, 99%, you're just that close to purification. So if you cut loose right now, you can finish that process in a few days ahead, however it takes, and then you be pure gold, and then you go out with the pure gold. You see? If you paying attention, but you still locked up in master's reality, oh man, I got look all that money I saved. See? I got this huge bank account, man. I got all this credit, I got this property, I got this mortgage, I got all this stuff, I got maybe student loans, I got all this stuff, man. I can't let that go. And then it's gone. Not by your decision, by Master Muhammad's decision, but it leaves you in purgatory. It leaves you in the tribulation. Because you could not make that decision yourself. Even though if you had been paying attention to angel, you should have been able to make that decision. Right? But you was on the what zone. So you're on an emotional level, so it was too emotional. It was too difficult to make. If you would have been on a mind zone, you might have been able to do it easier. You say, I just cut this man, hell with all this. Because you're a true believer and you understand consequence. You say, yeah, I know it's about to happen. I'm not going to hold on to something that's about to be destroyed. But on an emotional level, oh man, look all the time I put into this. See? I got this property over here, man. I got this. Look all the time and years I put into this. So you start thinking along those lines. Instead of thinking practical, you're thinking emotional, your emotional attachment. Because you say, it's just like, you I don't have dogs. I'm not advocating dogs. But you got a dog it was a puppy and everything. It was great. He was doing all kinds of things. Now he's becoming an adult and he's biting you all the time, biting people. You can remember all the stuff, good stuff, and you don't want to put the dog down because, man, he was a good dog. Yeah, but he's biting people now. So you don't want to think about the consequence, America about to be destroyed. You put it out your mind because you think of all the stuff that you invested in America. You know what I'm saying? So you put out that, even though it's right there in Mr. Black Man, it's right there in Fall of America. You don't have to even look at Farrakhan's, and listen to Farrakhan's talking against it, but you don't have to even look at Elijah Muhammad's. Just go on the internet, just listen to what the news is saying. They're telling you to be at war any day now, and then you get Suleiman putting the pieces together for you. You won't go on that level because that gets to the mind level, and your heart is already blocking that. So you're still on the emotional level, and you still, oh man, I'm gonna lose this, I'm gonna lose that. And if you went to the mind level, you say, I'm gonna lose it anyway. It's going to be gone tomorrow anyway. But you ain't going to see that. All your emotional attachment to it right now is that you have it right now. You ain't thinking about it. It's going to be, if you realize it's going to be going tomorrow anyway, then you say, hey, I'll we'll drop it. If it's going to save my life. But see, I'm trying to point out to you your different ways of thinking. And that's the way you're thinking. So, and you're really not thinking, right? It's your emotional state. So you have emotional attachment to all you're going to put time, you put into this and everything. And you ain't even thinking. If you're thinking, say, well, yeah, but you're just telling me not to believe it. It's going to be gone tomorrow. Why in the hell am I holding on to something that's going to be gone tomorrow? It's going to end up and result in my destruction when I can just drop it today and earn my ticket out of here. If I hold on to it, then I'm going to be here in the flames. I'm going to be here in the ashes. You understand? That is the nature of the demon trap. It's a diabolical trap. It's designed to catch people just like you who will recognize Suleiman, who will be willing to work with Suleiman, right? But can't because they're conflicted, because their emotional attachment to this world life, because they put so much time and energy into it. That's what Farrakhan sets you up. Because you believed in it, you thought you had no choice, so you went in and went whole hog, so to speak, right? Into American dream. You built it up. You got your little mini mansion. You got your BMW. You got all these different things, or you trying to get them. You got your credit rating. You got all this stuff, man. So you ready to go. You done made all these things, right? And you bogged down in America. You've tied down. You got firm roots in America. Then here comes Suleiman telling you, and yeah, I'm with you, but you can't hold on to that stuff. Oh man, now you're conflicted. See? So you're trying to hold on to both, but Suleiman's moving fast moving on into he's a time traveler, and you can't keep up with him. Oh man, slow down, brother. No, I'm not gonna slow down. Because you can't keep up because you're still trying to carry massive vision on your back. It's wearing you down, holding you down. But you can't keep up. And you realize if you drop that burden, you keep up and you move on into the future. But you can't see that because you're on a heart level and you attach to all those things that you spent time, years listening to Farrakhan building up. So you can't let go of it. And you trying to get Suleiman, so he's not going to slow down. Right? But if you drop that load, then you better keep up, and then you move on into the future with him. But you can't do that. So you basically you're in the same category as a time anchor to some extent. And then Master Muhammad snatched the load off your back. He snatched it off your back because all that stuff is gone. When the abomination doesn't, when he's telling you to flee and all that kind of stuff, you think your banks are still going to be looking for your mortgage? You think all that stuff's still going to exist when there's no food and everything else? All that stuff is gone. He snatched that stuff off your back. Now you don't have that headwind. But you ain't ready. You're not ready to be certified because you was carrying all that on your back instead of using that energy to develop yourself while you're in the womb. So now you're not 100%. So when they take the 144,000 out of here, out of the furnace, you still left in it because you're not purified enough. And the longer you use the Farrakhan, the worse your situation becomes. So in some cases, they put you in your remaining time in the furnace is not going to be enough. Because you have to be in a long time. And this whole thing has a time limit. What's the time limit? It's at the point the baby is born, the new nation is born. That's when all this stuff is timeless. So if you're not ready at that time, the only thing you get is that brief incubator period. Right? So if you're at 98%, 99%, you get a brief incubator, and that's the furnace stays on just a little while longer. Right? That's the tribulation period. It stays on just a little while longer to finish your development, get you 100% pure. But if you're only 50%, you're not going to make it. You're not even going to make it. Don't even sense, no sense. Tribulation period is just going to be hell for you, and you're still going to be destroyed in it because you can't make it. You're just got too many because you was with Farrakhan just too much too longer. We're not talking about demons here now. We're talking about our people who were deceived by. We're not talking about the Levites here. We're talking about our people who were deceived by Farrakhan. That was his purpose, to make you think you had no choice, and that you went down that path, and now you can see the truth, but you can't do anything with it. And very few. That's why it says many will be called, but few will be chosen, because many few can see it. Cut those ties immediately, like I did. Because once I got the angel and I understood what was going on, I had to cut all ties. I'm not bound by mass in any respect. No mortgage, none. I could have it. I'm not bound. I have no ties, no more than I need to maintain my basic needs. We all have to do that. We have to eat. I'm here to eating things while he was here. Just the basic, which can easily be severed in an instant. That was over 30 years ago. I cut all ties. So I'm not bound in any way. None. But you can't do that. Very few. So some might be able to do it. It says many will be called, but few will be chosen. So very few might be able to do that. Most of you can't. And so therefore, right, you go through the tribulation incubator period, but the longer you use with Farrakhan, the least chance you got to make it through that. Because your level of purity is like 50%, 40%, 50%, even that. It's just not enough. Incubator period is a very short period of time. Incubator. That's what people in the 90% range. 90, 98, 91, 92, 99. People in the 80% range might not even make it. 89, that might not be enough. The incubator period just for that tribulation for those people. To stand up long enough, the furnace long enough to achieve 100% purification. And then they're delivered. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters, the demon trap. The demon trap. And that's what most of you fell for. And now it's hopeless. Now it's hopeless for you. The longer you're with him, the harder it is to extricate yourself from it. Demon trap. It's the Pharaoh. It's the Pharaoh. The demon. Calls the devil. How could you fall for him? But you did. And some of you just took the easy path. Oh man, I ain't waiting for no hereafter, man. I'm gonna get mine right now. We had people talking about that when the message was around. I'm gonna get mine right now because they misunderstood what the message was talking about as far as death and that kind of stuff. Some of you fall in that category. Man, I'm gonna get mine now. I ain't waiting, man. While I'm waiting. So then you start digging your roots right here in American Dream instead of developing yourself because you didn't realize you was in the womb instead of developing yourself. So now you come out deformed, missing your toes, missing your feet, whatever, because you wasn't doing what you're supposed to do in the womb. Development, nation development. That's what you're supposed to be doing, but you wasn't doing it. And some of you willingly did it because you said, "Man, I hell with that. I ain't wait. I can get mine right now." And so you had the attitude. So now you're paying the price, consequence. And like I said, once Satan, false Israel is taken down, you will not be in their reality anymore. So they will not have the power to cover up your consequence. Oh, here's a pill. Here's a medication. Here's this program. This 3-step program. All this, they got all this bullshit to cover up your consequence. But it was just covering it up. It was just covering up. It wasn't gone. It was just covering up to conceal it. He's like sweeping dirt under the rug. It's still there. And you just don't see it. So now they don't have the power. So now your consequences are glaring all over the world. You're like a beacon. Your consequence, everybody can see it now. You don't have no pills and you got these scientists covering up for you anymore. So now it's exposed to the whole world. And that's what the Quran talks about and the Bible talks about. You ruined your soul. You ain't got no special soul, that spiritual thing you can't see. It means you ruined your body. And if you ruin your body, there's no hope for you because your body's all you got. And if you ruin that, then how in the hell are you gonna recover from that? Like Farrakhan, his body's ruined because he's cursed. It says in Malachi, he was cursed with a curse because he was robbing his whole nation. He's been robbing you. He's robbed our people. He just didn't rob the people of money and stuff. He robbed you of your future. That's what the son, that's brothers and sisters. He robbed you of your future. That's the demon trap. I tell you had only America's only game in town, right? American dream. He robbed you of your future. He robbed you of your reward. So therefore it says he was cursed with a curse. He cannot, his soul is ruined. He's disemboweled. You cannot recorrect that. You cannot put those pieces back together, give his balls back. You cannot do that. All that grafting and stuff they doing, giving heart transplants, all that kind of stuff. You ain't gonna get that in the hereafter. Nobody's gonna be transplanting no heart. That's another cover up. Oh, you done ruined your heart. You done went out there, all kinds of things, and your heart's so ruined. So now that's another. Or the consequence of that is heart attack. So now they take, oh man, don't worry about that, man. I just give you a heart transplant. Just give you a liver transplant. See, that's how they cover up the consequence. And you go for it. But you won't have that in the hereafter. You won't have that in the promised land. So all of a sudden, you pop up with your fake heart. And we're not going to give you medication to maintain that. You think we're going to build a whole medical infrastructure to keep on covering up your consequences of your actions? Like, say, no, we're not going to do that. So therefore, here you pop up and now you need medication. We're not going to give it to you. We're not going to build the whole pharmacy and everything to start special medications for you. You got all these problems. You got heart transplant, you got liver transplant, you got ass transplant, everything else. And now you need these doctors that was giving you all this stuff to cover up the consequences of your deeds, and now they're gone. And we're not going to replace them with that. That's not our way. We don't live like that. So now the consequence that you was hiding with your pills and your heart transplant and all that kind of stuff, you don't nothing to hide anymore. So now it's blaring. So now you show up, hey man, I need some keep my heart going. What you telling us for? Bam, heart attack. It's all your consequences now open. Like I said, it's blaring all over the place from every rooftop. All your sins are exposed. It's shouted from every rooftop. But you was walking around, taking antidepressant pills and that kind of stuff. You take. That's why it tells you in the angel about sorcery. Sorcery is drugs. That's another name for drugs. It was telling you that they was taking all that stuff, but now the stuff is gone, and you need it. Now it's gone, and you still need it. If we're not going to provide it, so now all the consequences of what you was doing is blaring from every rooftop. It's all over the place. Everybody can see you clearly. You can't cover up that stuff anymore. People walking around, hey man, he's got a heart. You don't know he got a heart transplant. He's doing this thing. He's still out there screwing around, right? But you don't know it. And now everybody knows it. Oh man, that dude's messed up, man. He got a heart transplant and he ain't got no medication to maintain it. He's dead in 5 days, maybe a week. All that, see, all those diseases, STDs and all that kind of stuff, whatever they call them, right? All that stuff is glaring because now you have no cover up of that stuff anymore. AIDS, you have no medication to cover that up anymore. So we don't want you spreading that stuff amongst us. You know what I'm saying? Because all those consequences of your actions, those are your actions that caused those consequences, and that you had the devil and the demons was covering up so people could not see them. And so you walk around, everybody think you're normal, and you got, oh, I got all this money in the bank. Yeah, but I got HIV. So everybody thought you had all this great stuff, and now the cover's pulled off. And that's the point. Let me make that point very clear. I told you, everybody got the same amount, but you don't understand that. So the billionaire got just as much as you have. You just don't understand the difference. Yeah, $1 million shit farm is equal to $1 million gold mine. So everybody has the same. That billionaire has no more than you have. You understand? But you don't understand the underlying the problems he has that goes with that you don't have. In other words, he may be 89 years old, he's a billionaire, and you may be 19 years old and poor, but he would rather be 19 years old and poor than to be 89 years and billionaire because that billionaire he can't take it with him. You know, so everybody has the same, but you don't understand that. You understand that in a minute. And so what happens is when he pulls the plug on that, that's going to be clear that everybody has the same. Because now you're going to be, because it says all you done in secret will be shouted over the mountaintop. So now you're going to see the covers pulled off, right? And it says that their skirt be pulled above over their head. So you see a nakedness. That's what we're talking about. You will see that nakedness, right? Because now you see that billionaire, he was a billionaire, right? But he was a pedophile. He was guilty of bestiality. He's just like that thing about Hefner just came out. You know, Hugh Hefner, Playboy guy, that he was having sex with animals. So would you rather be a billionaire, sick like that, having sex with animals, or 90 years old homeless person? Which one would you rather be? Because he was like that, yeah, all that, but his mind was totally sick. I mean, having sex with animals, your mind has to be more than corrupt. You don't understand what they was doing in the background because they was covering up, because they had these scientists covering up all the consequences of what they was doing. So you thought, I want to be like that person, but you don't understand the negativity that was he was hiding that allowed them to have all that positive stuff they had. Because everything, in other words, if the balance is 100, right, and you have 500, then that means you have 400 negative energy to balance that out. But you may be hiding that 400 negative energy. Or if the balance is 100 again, right, and you have 10,100, then you got 10,000 units of negative energy. But you may be good at hiding that negative energy, and everybody's looking at that positive energy you have. Oh man, that guy's being able to look at all this stuff here. They don't see the negative because you got scientists hiding that negativity. And so you want to be like that, but you don't understand. You don't want the negativity that goes with it. That's the point I'm trying to make. They hide the consequence. They're good at hiding the consequence of your action. That means continue doing what you was doing until it's too damn late. Right? They got you fooled right now. Oh, man, I want to be like that, but you don't understand the negativity that's behind it. But they don't have no more than you have. Demon trap. They got you, brothers and sisters. Some of you may be able to make that decision. Like I said, you're in the valley of decision. I said you'll be in the valley of decision. Because if you wait till your master, I'm gonna make that decision for you, you ain't gonna like it. But now you don't have that mortgage. You don't have all that stuff that you were so much bogged down with, that you was worried about. But now you're in the furnace, you're in the fire, and you're not ready. So now you got to go. If you're lucky, then you still got that period incubator, which you're not gonna lack. Hope you understand, bro. The diamond trap. I mean the demon trap. Demon trap. Where the pool? The guys you're going, brothers and sisters. The demon trap. Perdition. That's a monster. He is a monster. His father's the devil. He's a demon. He hates you. He hates you, brothers and sisters. Mm-mm. Assalamu alaikum.